Hello back. So as we were saying, you start presenting information in the excerpts. The excerpts are the pieces of information that you take literally from the different instruments that you used. So if you used a survey, an interview, a focus group, a questionnaire, it's that information that you take literally from your students. So it says, for example, in this one, I think that the videos help us a lot in our grammar part of the course because it gives us an important tool to practice and to be more prepared for our classes. So here, this excerpt one is taken from the perception survey. So this is the way you should present it. You put it in a box, then you write the name excerpt, the number, and then the instrument where you took it from. In the case of, for example, focus groups or field notes or other information, other instruments, sorry, where you have the particular person who said something, then you add the student code, not the name. Remember that for ethical considerations and for anonymity and confidentiality, we never use students' names. The next step is to give a comment or to explain the excerpt that you're using. For example, here we have excerpts 1 and 2 represent the opinions and thoughts of students about learning the grammar through videos. Students also showed a positive perception of the decision made about flipping the particular element of the course. So as you can see, we are presenting ideas. For example, in this case, we are presenting the code grammar through videos, and we are illustrating how we came to find that this was a pattern based on the different instruments that we have. So in this case, a perception survey, a focus group, and one more thing, which is the accountability activities, give us information about students' perceptions in regards to the usefulness of videos in order to learn grammar. So what we do is we tell a story of what we found, but we don't tell it through the glass of the different instruments, but we tell it through the glass of the different categories that emerge from the data. So we have, for example, here in excerpt 1, the student is expressing how important it is to have the grammar video prior to class because it allows him to practice at home and to get to class more prepared. Likewise, excerpt 2 shows how useful the student perceives learning the grammar through videos and moreover the usefulness of creating his own grammar video in order to peer instruct classmates, which is going to be covered later in this document. So something important here is we are not just reporting what one student said. What we are reporting is one excerpt or one piece of data that represents a general opinion that we identified as a category or as a code. So that is what happens. We take the mass of data and we start looking for similarities and patterns. Those similarities and patterns become codes, and those codes we can group them, and the more we can group them and reduce them, the better, so that we end up with fewer things. Yeah, the fewer the better in this case. Then, for example, Simon presents a table. Yeah, table activities done by students with the videos, field notes. And then he explains it. Yeah, of course, he mentioned before that he was going to work on a table. So, for example, there were 3 grammar topics which required them to do different activities in order to complete the accountability activities and prepare for class, as is exemplified in the following table. And then presents the table and discusses the table. So in table 1, we can appreciate more in depth several aspects related to the student's autonomy during the course. After analyzing the table, it can be seen that the most used strategy when watching the videos was taking notes, which, as it can be appreciated, was used for every video by at least 5 students. In regards to note-taking, they were not asked to follow a specific format or pattern. They just took notes how they wanted to. Furthermore, decision-making was not only evidenced in the type of activities students did to benefit from the video, but also the quantity of activities. It was evidenced in Table 1. Students decided not to copy everything as a way to show their preparation. So as you can see, the information in the table is later discussed, because if you just drop the table here and don't say anything, it doesn't mean anything for the reader. It only means something to you because you conducted the process. So what you have to do is show your project to the reader through your eyes. The person who reads your paper needs to know what was in your head and what was in the head of your students as you conducted the project. So I just wanted to invite you to see that all the information that I showed you in this Excel file, I'm gonna open it up again, yeah, just in case you have forgotten. So all the information that was shown, in these 4 charts, because remember there were 4 different steps that Simone followed in order to get here, to get to the end of this data, yeah, transformed into this, yeah. So there is a reduction, considerable reduction of information in your project, yeah. So going back to the concept of triangulation, as you can see, we are discussing one code, grammar through videos, and we are evidencing what we found based on the different instruments. Excerpt 1, excerpt 2, it's a different one, and excerpt 3, or table 1, is a different instrument. So as you can see, we have one more from the teacher's reflection journal. So the idea is to have as many sources of data as necessary, and at least 3 per code, so that you can actually substantiate or support what you're saying. I found this, but here is how I can tell you, my dear reader, what my students said and how they perceived it and what they told me about it. Yeah. Well, so this is how you construct this section. Of course, that was the end of the first code, but then you go code by code, category by category, doing the same process. It is important to provide enough analysis. This is the analysis, this is how you present the analysis of your data. Okay, so I hope these videos were illustrative, and if you still have any question, please do not hesitate to ask. It's always a pleasure. Sorry about this. See you later. Goodbye.